Welcome to Kicking It Local, the podcast all about the football community here in South Australia. I'm your host, Johnny Kecko. Every week I chat to different people involved in the community here in South Australia, and I head to different clubs most recently, but today I'm at a brand new location. I'm at a store, the football store, the Macron Sports Hub of Adelaide, and also I'm joined by the director of the Macron Adelaide, Raffaele Frisina. Mate, thank you so much for joining me.
Welcome, Johnny. Thank you.
It's good to be here. Saying a new location, a lot of jerseys around me, and a lot of local ones as well, because you guys are involved in a lot of different clubs here in South Australia.
Yeah, we are. It's taken off in the last couple of years. So yeah, we have 9 of the elite clubs, so State League and NPL and WNPL, and then there's a whole host of amateur and collegiate football clubs, and not to mention some other sports too now.
It's there's heaps to get through because you got right behind me. I've got the Port Adelaide Football Club jersey in the AFL. Obviously, that's a massive coup for you guys locally in the club, because not many people realise how involved you are, not just only in soccer but sport in general. So I want to talk about your involvement here, because after walking in and looking at all the jerseys around here, I'm just feeling like a little kid in the candy store.
Absolutely, and that's what the effect of teamwear does, and in particular Macron. So we did chat a little bit earlier about the effect that Macron has on clubs, and we're set up for teamwear. So it's been really refreshing to work with a lot of good contacts within clubs in building their image over a couple seasons, and finding the perfect kit for them, and also touching on heritage and the online store and how they can turn our product into revenue for the club.
I love all the talk about the kits, because I'm a kit nerd a bit. Because I opened my closet up yesterday and looked at all the kits I've got from LA United and other clubs as well, and I've got, I reckon, minimum 20, maybe even more. And I don't want to put a price to all that because that's going to freak me out a bit. But it's just something everyone loves, and also just looking at just the designs that you guys have got, and you showed me a few with Macron earlier, and it's actually pretty good material and a great look as well. Yeah,
so I think it's probably known that Macron's not the cheapest, but we're also not the most expensive. So we kind of sit in between, and we have a range of items. So we from our entry level that might cater for clubs with a higher volume or lower budgets to just the same quality jersey as a pro club like your Lazio. So we have a number of clubs that do get custom jerseys, that play in custom jerseys locally. Salisbury Inter and Adelaide Uni, Burkalla, Adelaide Hills just most recently. So the Lazio shirt comes off the production line, and on goes Adelaide Hills. So it's great that they can have that option as well.
Not only are you involved in Macron, which is heavily involved in soccer, because I think you're about almost 20, or just over 20% of the State League men's and NPL men's clubs, and also you've got Salisbury Inter as well in the WNPL. So you've got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies in the local clubs. But for yourself personally, you're also involved in a club yourself as a player, and also the football manager of the State League 1 men's side at Adelaide University. And you're also involved in futsal as well. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and fit this in one episode, because I want to get through as much as possible, because you've got a good story. And when we talk about local football, you're pretty much the right example for it, because you're that involved in your daily life and your playing life as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of hats that I wear. So no, it's been. I mean, I only know the sport. Football, futsal. It's grew up with that passion, and I'm fortunate to be able to work in that environment as well. So it almost doesn't feel like work, every day. But Adelaide Uni's been an interesting project. Got there a couple of years ago. This is my 4th year at the club now, and in the male department, in the senior men's, was very amateur. It was still fresh. And it took a lot of time to get certain things right, real basics as well. We brought some really good characters and players to the club in that first year.
So you went in there 2019. So how old were you at that period, and how long have you been involved in soccer at that point?
I was a player, and then got a job at East United in 2017, I believe, and after 2 years, then moved on to Adelaide Uni to attempt this massive project. So look, it was a tough task. In particular, in the first year, we had a lot of players that weren't really happy with change and demand and what I believe the group and the club in that area needed to at least become a leading State League 2 club. But fortunately, we had enough of the core group of players and members around to really drive that. And after the first season, I think we finished 9th, but did a lot of weeding out and bringing some players in, and these sorts of things. The second season, we made the finals, and should be known that we'd done this with no wage budget. Following that, the year after, as business has gotten too busy, I made the call to stop coaching, off the back of the nice award I got from my peers. So I was really pleased to win that, and it was satisfying to be rewarded.
And that was the coach of the year in your
second year. We made the finals, made a supercharge at the end. I think something like 6 or 7 games won in the last 9. So and we knocked off all the sides that were top leading into it. So we had a really good run and set ourselves up really nicely for the year after. And I was fortunate to I basically was going to move into a football manager role at the club to ensure that we were moving in the right direction, but also try and play out my last couple of years and have that sort of routine in addition to my workload as well. So fortunate enough to get Michael Matricciani on the books last season with Adelaide Uni, and he was really good for us to continue what we're doing.
That's a massive coup to get someone like that, Matricciani, who, for most that don't know, before that, he came straight from Adelaide City, left Adelaide City for whatever reasons, and then went from NPL to State League 2, which is a massive drop for anyone. But when I've spoken to many coaches, and when they say it doesn't matter what league they're in, a coach's job is a coach's job, and they've got different reasons to be there. Some are to get promotion, some are just to stay up, some are just to get finals for that season or whatever it is, or to build for the next 4 years, or create a foundation. So for someone like Michael Matricciani, what was the reason to get him there and in the first instance to get him from Adelaide City?
Yeah, I think my initial conversation with him, as he's a friend of mine as well, is that would you be interested in this sort of challenge? And when I pitched it to him, I said, look, I know it's not ideal for your, what he's sort of thinking. He wants to be a professional coach. Potentially wouldn't be as ideal as a job with Adelaide United or Campbelltown City or Metro, or whatever he was sort of looking at. But it might be something that would sort of fulfill his disappointment, with being released from Adelaide City or that sort of thing. So as the final series went on, and Campbelltown was probably they were potentially looking at a new coach, they ended up winning the competition. So I think they stayed with Ian Fife, and that would have just denied anyone else's hopes. And Michael gave me a call and sort of let's actually have a proper chat about it. So the beauty of it was that even he and a lot of people don't realise how big Adelaide University Soccer Club is. We're around 1,000 members now, so it's a sleeping giant. It's a beast sort of waiting to happen. There's probably too much going on for the people to manage and control at the moment, but if we get it right, and if we can have some patience with in particular in the junior girls are great, and the WMPL have been set up well, but the junior boys typically are a community level. The grassroots, the mini-roos are starting to really grow, and there's some top players in there. So we're waiting for them to sort of blossom. But in the meantime, if we can hang in State League 1 and that sort of thing,
And you got him over. You said he was a bit hesitant to come over because it's State League 2, obviously, big drop for him. But now he's got that record that he went to a club in State League 2 that was known to struggle for the years prior to that, and obviously you had a big involvement in getting him into a good position before he came there. But he got them up in the first season there, and he was only there for 1 season. He did the job, and he's left the club in what seems to be pretty good hands now. It's under Stav Galekas.
Yep, correct. Yeah, and that's my reasoning for moving into this football manager role is to ensure that we've got some continuity, and there's some half decent guidance within the group. So with Michael moving on, we were really after another young coach to try and take the reins and continue what we're trying to preach. And I think it's important that younger coaches get a chance, and it's super hard to get involved, in particular with NPL club straight off the bat. And State League 2 is an excellent competition to get cracking in your coach's career. So Stav was fortunate to really interview well. And grab the job. So yeah, we're fighting at the moment. It's been a tough season. We've had a couple good results in the last month or so that have propelled us out of the relegation zone. But it's been a good challenge. But I think the club's got loads of potential.
It does seem to have it, because you the first few games of the season, which I've seen with a lot of clubs this year, is that they struggle with the new level they got to try and deal with, because it's something new. Because you've been State League 2, for a very long time, and never had experienced anything other than that, or any higher than that. But you were it's amateur club beforehand. What was it like trying to change that mentality? Because we've seen it with a lot of clubs that have come in, and Mount Barker United, another great example of that. They struggled for a very, very long time, and I think it was over 100 minus 100 goals in the season. Didn't win for many years, and now they've got a new president, brand new coach, new philosophy, and it's starting to see a bit more results. How was it like for you guys at LA University?
Yeah, I mean, spot on there. Look, it was, like I said before, it was definitely a challenge. A lot of things that weren't available to us at the time. Was definitely wasn't used to that. Being told we had to train off in the corner. Typically the senior sides get the preference. So over time, I had to make it clear this is what we required to do our jobs properly and to perform at the level required for that competition. Which I believe State League 2 is of a decent standard, but if you do it right and you bring the right people around, there's no reason why you shouldn't be finishing in the top half. So we dealt with all sorts of things, team managers not doing their role properly, player revolts, and all these sorts of things in the first year that the players just did not want. That they were entitled to a position. Typically in an amateur team, you play with your mates and that sort of stuff. I brought some new things to the table, and I had to deflect a lot of personalities. But that's as a young coach, you can't really deal with these sorts of guys. So you got to work with like for like people. And I brought in about 6 or 7 guys that I'd worked with in the past, in particular in Eastern United, and they were really the rock and the core to continue what we're doing there. It definitely took some time, but that's what a lot of the local clubs have to realise when they're building a project, is that it's not going to take one or 2 seasons, potentially 3 or 4. But you build it right, then you can get promoted. And potentially, move up the ranks a bit quicker than what you thought.
And now the foundations are there now from where you've built it up. It's been, 3 years now? Do you reckon it's at a good spot now that you guys could see yourselves as a State League 1 team for a very long time?
I think now that we're in that competition, and there's a handful of our players that have played in the NPL in their days. So what we probably lacked in the first couple of rounds is a bit more experience, and also the confidence and the mindset that, hey, we've played at this level before, we've played at a high level before. Let's just relax a little bit and take the game sort of a minute at a time. Yeah. Whereas I think it was quite frantic in the first few rounds, but look, we can't really change that, and we're still in a decent spot at the moment.
What's it like trying to juggle being a player there and also the team manager as well of the men's team? What's it like juggling those, and especially when you're a coach as well? How do you try and juggle that? Because obviously that people are going to think you're favouring yourself. Is that, do you get that?
Oh, look, I don't feel that I get that sort of treatment at Adelaide Uni. Everyone knows that I'm doing it from a good spot there. But it was very heavy in the first year. A lot of stuff to do. Second year a little bit as well. But my role typically is to make sure we've got things organised, and that's the majority of that work comes in the off season and the pre-season. So now that things are rolling, I'm getting to training. I'm doing my bit, and if the coach selects me.
You've been at the club for 3 years now, but the experience you would have got from all the other clubs prior to this, at Eastern United prior, you were at Croydon, also Campbelltown City is where it all began to you. What have you learnt from those outfits being involved there and brought to university?
Yeah, I guess there's standards. So whether you're involved in collegiate football or semi-professional football or professional football, there's certain standards. So that's probably been the thing that's helped me in regards to coaching and instilling a certain level of discipline. I've got a different way of maybe preaching it, where I ask for respect in a different way. But that's probably the main difference, apart from the quality of players and the level and that sort of thing.
Is that why the mentality, you reckon, in a team like university, when they were like very amateurish in the mindset, is because maybe most of them hadn't come from the higher one, or
absolutely,
or no influence?
Absolutely. And when I was coming through the ranks at Campbelltown, there were probably 12, 13 leaders in that group. Your Michael Matricciani, Jason Trimboli was playing at the time, Stanko Zilic, Michael Delosio, Les Polycomi. So they're already just names. Oli Tatani, all really good leaders. And for a young player, that's so crucial to have these sorts of guys caring about you. Whether they're screaming at you, they want you to do well. And I really thrived off that as a young footballer. And probably this day and age, it's not there's not that many of those type of players around, and the younger players, not all of them have that willingness to learn and take on instruction and that sort of thing. So that's probably one of the big differences.
And you also had a little taste of what it was like to go overseas. Hong Kong is where you went for the a trial over there. What was that like to go into a place that you not even know how to speak the language? Well, I'm assuming you don't know how to speak
definitely
language.
Not. So how that sort of came about was we had a player return back to Campbelltown from his name was Paul Beltrami.
Yep.
He used to play in the NSL for Marconi and
in relation to Daniel?
I think I don't know if he was brothers or cousins. Definitely related. So he had just come from Hong Kong. He was working there, and he actually played in the league. And we did a bit of extra training in the off days for Campbelltown. And he basically teed me up with a trial with a club over there. I sent a bit of old footage around to some other clubs, and as it turned out, I went and trained with someone else. So I left in July in that season, and I had a 3-day trial with a club called KC Southern. Fantastic experience. It was pre-season then, so we trained twice a day. It was grueling heat on the artificial grounds, which there wasn't many here in South Australia at the time. What I picked up in that week or two that I was there was probably more than what I learned in my junior years. So really really valuable experience. Unfortunately didn't get a contract there. They were after an out-and-out striker who they ended up signing from Villarreal.
Oh,
so Campbelltown, Villarreal, it was a big choice for them. But
I think they made the wrong decision.
yeah. So, but in fact, I made some good contacts there. Building on my network.
Being in Hong Kong, you've come from the level of NPL. What is it like their league over there? Is it as professional as Australia?
So I'd say a fair comparison would be that it sort of sat in between the A-League and the NPL.
Yep.
There was actually some good Aussie players that I met Dylan McAllister when he was over there. He was playing for one of the clubs. So a few Aussie boys have gone over and they've played in the A-League. I think it might have been Danny McBreen as well. Might have played for South China for a little bit. So it was an interesting dynamic in Hong Kong. There's your top 2 or 3 clubs that have a decent wage budget and have their own facility and play in a nice stadium.
Yep.
And then the rest are playing at grounds that are probably equivalent to Santos Stadium.
Oh, really?
And also training that hiring grounds to train. So they don't actually have their own club. Their club is registered as an office.
Yep.
That's probably belongs to a business owner.
Yep.
And who's probably the main sponsor of the club. So that's typically how that competition is still currently going. So promotion and relegation between the Hong Kong Premier League and then the second division is it's professional to semi-pro. So it's based on submission as well and having the money to put up to go into that competition.
So all the players, are they all pro or is it semi-pro or how's it?
Yeah, so the local players, and I say local, the Hong Kong boys, are all professional. So they'll train one to two times a day. Their wages aren't very high, so they're probably picking up around maybe 30 grand Aussie a year, which is not high, in particular in Hong Kong where the cost of living's extreme. So what they all do is have a second job as well, and mainly in coaching. So there's a lot of coaching schools and even tutoring, and they get a good wicket out of that. So it's tough work for them, but the visa players get an okay wage.
How do you? Because off air we were talking about the coach. You said he was Chinese.
Yep.
So how did you manage with coping with the language barrier there?
Yeah, I actually found it pretty frustrating with him in particular because even you want to go ask the coach on some feedback and I wasn't successful in that club and I thought I'd get some feedback off him, and so I had to get a translator for that, and I felt like it wasn't really what he said, but how I'm meant to know. But it was interesting. The first session that I arrived to, he started addressing the players and started talking Chinese, and I thought, I obviously don't know what's going on here. But then I got pulled back to the back of the group. There was an interpreter there for me and one for the Spanish boys as well. So I started to explain what we're going to do that session and all that sort of stuff. So that I thought that was pretty cool, but I can imagine it'd be disruptive for the coach to be talking and having another voice over the top. It was
almost like a press conference.
It was it was madness. I felt like I couldn't. If I was to play for that team, it'd be hard to develop a relationship with someone you can't actually speak to.
How's it work though? So is there someone always around the club that speaks English that can translate, or do you have to organise it, or how's it work?
Well, they were fortunate that they had one guy that had played in Spain, a Chinese player, and he was speaking in Spanish, and then one of the other guys that was born in Canada, but had a Hong Kong passport. He was delivering it in English to me. So, and these were the guys I sort of ended up hanging out with because they could speak English, and one of the Spanish boys could speak Italian. So we sort of went through that way as well.
Yeah. So you speak Italian as well?
I can, yeah.
So what's the language? You're English and Italian?
English and Italian, yeah. And just the Chinese swear words now.
How would you pick up a little bit while you were there?
Yeah, that's the first thing that they try and teach you as well. So when you stuff up a pass and you hear all these words, you think, okay, well,
what are they?
Yeah. I probably should say.
No, I won't ask you. I'm just saying, like, you'll be thinking, what are they?
Yeah.
We won't mention it on here because then I have to change the rating on
the Chinese listeners.
No, they might not tune in. But that would have been a massive learning experience, which I'm sure that you would have brought back here to Adelaide, even though you weren't successful at this club or weren't successful over there. Most of that came back here and helped you bring it to an
spot on. Look, the main thing I saw when I was over there was that how competitive it was to get a contract. I was floating around Campbelltown happily playing at that level and wanting to sort of progress, but not actually realising how desperate other people were to get a contract. And when I was training with KC Southern, there were a couple other visa players trying to get a contract as well. And there was a Ghanaian boy, and he was, after training, basically almost crying because he couldn't work out how he was going to leave Hong Kong with no money if he didn't get a contract at one of these clubs. So once he was talking that way, I thought, geez, it's another world overseas, and it's I'm very grateful for that opportunity to have at least seen that, and speaking to some of the young players that are around now that want to go, then I can pass on the advice that they need to be prepared mentally and physically, because these guys train like animals. Yep,
we hear that the difference over there is that there's a lot more training than what we used to hear. And you see it with a couple of youngsters coming through that can't they struggle with trying to go to multiple training sessions throughout the week because they haven't. I think it's different, brought up differently over the years, and then but over there it's completely different.
Yeah, part of the routine. So like I said, the first day we trained. The interpreter told me that we're going to have a light session. Instead, we trained for 2 hours in the heat. So that night as well, we had a friendly match.
Yeah.
The next day I was knackered.
Yeah.
And we had to turn up to training again. So it wasn't just your normal trainings as well. It was the pre-season sort of regime.
So talking about a light training, was 2.5 hours considered a light training, or was that just
Well, yeah, I was expecting an hour, to go through some tactical stuff. But yeah, we started with rondos and passing practice, and then moved into some sprints and some finishing, and then some gameplay, and then some weights. So yeah, it was nuts. So yeah, that was a light session. I was like, gee, the next couple of days are going to be hard for me. So that if I could go back, or if I can pass advice on to some of the other players, is to go there and turn up physically in charge and ready. Yeah,
talking about overseas experience as well, you're also involved in futsal, and you were involved in getting Futsal SA up and running in South Australia. What was that like to build that up and get it to a point where you ended up handing it over to someone else?
Yeah, so there was Futsal SA. The organisation was already established, so they'd been running the competitions, the junior competitions, and some senior ones. And I just, it was basically a social comp that you play, like a football pastime. So between September and December, get a group of mates and put a team in and sort of have a kick. But
almost like indoor soccer.
Yeah. And for those that have played, obviously it's quite fun. It's a small-sided soccer match. So But I felt, and I played in the state teams as well, in the futsal state teams, and I felt like there was a room for improvement, in particular for myself as a player and the state team I was playing in. And we thought, how can we do this? And we ended up establishing a club. So I started a club with a couple of friends called Adelaide Fusion Futsal Club. Yep. And we're still going now. And we entered in that same competition. Then from there, we felt like, we want to play against other clubs too. So we actually started the South Australian Futsal League, so a new entity. Yep. And we established a 3-tier competition with 32 clubs. Oh, wow. So promotion, huge. Relegation. It was excellent. And that's how actually I got involved with Macron initially as a customer. So Macron supplied the kits for that competition. Yep. And we played out at the Adelaide Superdrome. So that was probably the first sort of competition that had live streaming and filmed games and that sort of thing back in 2013.
For that period as well, that's huge.
Yeah, it was great, and that's what where the level might not have been as good as the other states. At least the exposure was there now, and instead of having social rec teams, we had teams that were bound by entering as a suburb to give that a bit more professionalism, have a logo, try and become incorporated, and then from that, some clubs have built juniors. So. Just recently I've got way too much on, so I've passed it on to Pro Futsal, who are a WA company doing the exact same thing in Western Australia, New South Wales, Victoria, and now they're running the competition here. So it's changed a little bit where there's less clubs, but now the clubs have a deeper squad and now trying to field juniors and women's teams and that sort of thing.
It's fantastic. So you've helped create something now that's become a new avenue for players to go through in futsal. Yeah,
absolutely. In particular, I've seen in the senior competition. So it was the Macron Premier League at the time, and now it's or it still is the Macron State Futsal League. A lot of young players that get exposed to that competition that might be playing with their football club in under 17, under 19s, for example, that now all of a sudden are playing in a first team environment, albeit futsal. Their development just skyrocket. So Caleb Evans is a good example that is now playing at Blue Eagles. He was playing at Raiders with his juniors. We just grabbed him from the sideline one game to play in our youth team, and ends up playing in the senior team a couple of weeks later at 14. And then once he's playing with good players and against men at 14, 15 years old, his development went through the roof. So he got exposed to senior football really quick. Hamish Gow's another one that plays for Metro Stars, so he's on our books at Adelaide Fusion.
Wow.
So there's a couple good examples there that if we can get some younger players involved in the league, not just with my club in particular, but involved in the league, that they've got a good future to build in futsal, but football as well.
Well, it's amazing because a lot of people that, especially myself, that are naive to the whole futsal world, is that we all think it seems to be like it's more of a fun activity. People go and create a team with their mates, like you said earlier, but there's actually a massive path there for professionals to get through. And also you see like professional or semi-pro players from the NPL playing in there as well. So it's bigger than most people know.
Yeah, that's right. And the idea for us, or our goal, is to expose as many players as possible to the national competition, which we have taken part in a number of times, and then also to the Australian camp, hopefully. So we've had just recently Josh Moran from Adelaide Fusion have a trial with the Futsal Roos.
Yep.
And there were a couple of players from one of the other clubs as well. So I think that's exciting, to have them in the mix for the national side. It would have been close to 8 years ago where myself, Luke Klimek from Croydon, and Perry Mitras, all three of us went and had a trial with the Futsal Roos as well. So
what was that like?
It was a very high standard, and we were probably too new to futsal in regards to the tactics to even get close to getting selected. But what it did was we were able to come back and pass that on to our junior players, and it was a great experience.
Now, you got a crack at doing national football, national futsal as well with a national team, with Vanuatu National Team, which is a very small country, little island, isn't it?
Yeah, tiny island.
Yeah, you were the national team coach for that team. So
there was myself and my colleague Josh Smith. So we both went over as technical advisors.
Yep.
But when we spoke to the head coach about what he really wanted our involvement to be, he basically just said, "Here you go, deliver all sessions," and which was great that we were able to help him with the education and processes and all these sorts of things. We got to get hands on with the group, which was fantastic. Cool. So it was a great experience to be part of that. And you don't really in prep for that, we trained in Vanuatu for 2 months on concrete, because they didn't have.
Oh wow!
That was their futsal court, outside concrete, and then we went to Fiji for the tournament, we played against New Zealand, Tahiti, New Caledonia, and Fiji in our group. But once you hear the anthem and everyone stands up, that's when this is the real deal. So to be part of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers with a nation was
that's cool.
A massive a massive thing for us.
Were you based over there for a bit, or did you go in between Australia and Vanuatu?
So it all happened pretty quick, and they were after some help. They felt like they were underprepared, which was definitely true. So we flew to Vanuatu and we had 2 weeks with them in Port Vila. And then after those 2 weeks, we flew to Fiji. We had a couple of days there, and then the first game against New Zealand.
Like Vanuatu and Fiji, they're places people go for holidays. Was it tempting to just relax? And did you get to relax, or was it very full on?
We probably had the opposite of that experience at the time, and we would sort of drive past hotels and see people having the time of their life. It was a little bit frustrating, but it was actually interesting to see the talent there. There's actually quite a bit of talent on those islands, some really gifted technical footballers and futsal players. What they might be lacking is something that Australians could bring to the table, and hopefully, that is the mental strength. We talk about Aussies never giving up and being mentally strong, and sort of not caring whether they're losing 2-3-0, they'll still keep going. And we saw that with the Vanuatu national team. That's definitely an area that they need to fix over time. We were 0-0 with New Zealand, and we hit the post a couple of times. Really should have been 3-0 up at half time. We copped a goal after a minute in the second half. We lost 5-0.
Jeez.
They just dropped their heads and they just gave up no matter what rotations we did. That's probably their weak link. But there's some good players floating around. Some have actually just come to Australia to trial and to sign with clubs. So
with Croydon FC, they've got that's the futsal. Futsal players have come here. But we look at the other national team, the football team. You also got people like Jared Clark, who plays at Croydon FC, and also the captain who plays for White. So just signed with White City.
Brian Kautak's an extremely good footballer. He's probably A-League level, if not beyond that. And White City's pretty lucky to have him on the book. So I'd say their results would start to improve from here. It's
pretty cool to see like teams like Vanuatu, because you think about it, they're not very well known. You're not your Germany or your England or Italy, but these teams they have a couple of standout players there, and they're unlucky like in Oceania, because you only have one spot in the World Cup. Well, not even a spot, half a spot in the World Cup. So these teams here don't get exposed to the
not at all.
Audience.
And one of the things is like who's going to help them get overseas? There's some like fantastic players, Solomon Islands and Tahiti, some great footballers, Vanuatu, in all the nations, but there's no one's really got the contacts to push them anywhere. And for them to sign in the A-League, the A-League's typically looking at visa players from Spain and Italy and Japan or wherever, not really looking at Vanuatu or the Cook Islands. So for them, a lot of them try and play New Zealand in the New Zealand League, which is a decent standard. And then from there, they really got to try and get into, I think they got to try and get into the Asian market, maybe in Malaysia, Singapore, and try and boost from there. But again, they're needing player agents, and it's an untapped market.
Yep, the Vanuatu or anywhere.
Oceania, yeah. There's definitely room for improvement in the minnow nations. Like the standards like super poor, but there's definitely work to be done there. But there's your Vanuatu, Solomons, Tahiti. There's absolute great talent.
And just because they're a team that doesn't make the World Cup doesn't mean they haven't got great players in that country. And that doesn't give them the exposure which they would need as well.
Correct. And the same with Australian footballers. Like there's you sort of get caught up playing in the local leagues, the NPL and the state leagues and that. But when we talk about the NPL, that could be of the standard of some of the smaller Asian nations. Really. But there's that balance between these players got to leave their job and families or whatever to go trial in Malaysia or Singapore, where maybe the money's less than what they're getting. Working full time, so it's that sort of that balance. You probably got to do it when you're a bit younger, but again, for Australian footballers in the NPL and state leagues, who's gonna help them get there?
No, it will be a bit difficult to do that, but it's you're well versed in the football community. Everywhere you've played futsal, you've run a futsal club, you looked after the league. You're now a university, you're LA University doing you were coach now, you're team manager for the men's side. All this stuff that you're doing, player as well on top of all that. But also you're still well connected with other clubs through Macron, where we're here at the Macron Sports Hub in Adelaide. You're the director of this company here in Adelaide, of this store. But I'm actually wearing one of your
looks great on you.
Yeah, it looks great. I love it. It's the vest, puffy vest. I might take it home with me afterwards.
Fantastic.
It's nice and comfortable. But I was talking like I was excited when I started off this episode, because I actually am. I love looking at kits. I'm a kit nerd, and just to seeing what you guys have, like all this stuff around here. I'm just absolutely. I would love to take it home. take it home. But you look at all this stuff. What's it like being around all this and working with kits every day and working in different clubs?
Yeah, I mean, you said you're excited to be here, and it's exciting. Having a look at the new catalogue every year, and again dealing with the clubs that get to choose their kit for the upcoming season or upcoming seasons, and also build their range over a couple of years. So it's a really enjoyable job, and we've seen the brand grow crazy over the last couple of years, and that's partly down to the quality of the brand and the relationships we have with the clubs, and also the investment that Macron Global are making into Australian sport and sport in general. So just recently, obviously, Port Power have come on board. You got Melbourne Victory, which is a big Australian club. Basketball Australia have been announced. So now we can tap into the basketball scene, and then also the Commonwealth Games. Australia will be kitted up in Macron.
Oh wow!
Across
there
all
you
sports. Go. So that for us is a huge one.
So that will be across all sports and.
Yep.
So that's huge. So is the rugby in Commonwealth as well, or?
I'm not too sure, and some might have exclusive deals with their current supplier, but definitely the podium. You're on the podium. You'll be wearing a Macron tracksuit.
That's cool. And for someone like me, when I saw Port Adelaide football club in the AFL get you guys, Macron, it made me realise it's actually more than just soccer, because I always thought Macron was a soccer brand, but even they've done a really good job in the soccer community that people actually forget that didn't even start off as a soccer brand.
Yeah, that's right. So back in 1971 when the company started, there was an American influence, so making baseball attire only, and then progressed to making clothing for Nike and Adidas and those sorts of brands, and then sort of woke up and thought, oh, what are we doing here? Let's do our own. And then got involved with Bologna Football Club, which is where Macron is located, and still their sponsor. So it's been 20 odd years
That's massive.
with that supplier, with the same supplier. So hats off to them for that relationship. And they've just grown into the rest of Europe and in particular in the UK, where we're really, really strong. With the lower league clubs, they definitely get around it.
You talk about the lower leagues in Italy. You guys have clubs over there in Italy, but here in Adelaide, you've got a lot of clubs across the WNPL, the A League. Sorry, not the A League. You have the A League, Melbourne Victory, but you got in South Australia, you have the WNPL, NPL, State League 1, State League 2, also the amateur leagues. A lot of clubs you cover. What kind of influence do you guys have with those clubs?
Yeah, so I think we're fortunate with the clubs that we do work with, that they're dealing with some really good people, football people, and they get it. They understand the brand. They know what they're sort of looking for, and it kind of marries up with what we can offer. Look, it's like I said, it becomes more of an enjoyable experience, and typically with clubs that end up coming to Macron or partner with us, we have a long-term relationship. And if you look at the A-League, Perth Glory's just past 10 years with Macron already. Melbourne Victory signed a 5-year deal with us. Adelaide United had a good 4 years with us as well. Port Power's got 4 years. So I think it's all about long-term relationship. Burkhaller's coming up to 10 years. And your Salisbury United and Modbury Jets 7 years. So generally the clubs that we're building a relationship over time. It might not be as smooth in the first season or two. There's a lot of work to be done, but over time, then we understand what the club wants. The club understands how we operate, and it sort of just flows on.
It's pretty cool. And what goes into designing the jerseys? Because I know you guys have an amazing range of designs that people can pick from, which a lot of professional clubs do. But what is the process with doing that with the clubs?
Yeah, so I think initially is to get all the prelim information from them and understand their budget, and also the volume of players. So if it's a small amateur club, they might be more inclined to go for the top end stuff. They're all sort of working class people, and they're happy to pay a bit extra, and the volume's small. Whereas you might get a club that has 500 juniors that need to look at what they're spending. So that they'll look at maybe something that's of entry level or mid range. But our catalogue covers a fair bit. It's quite extensive, so they get access to that. They also get access to we've got our own app as well, my Macron Kit app, so they can actually design their own kit on there. Cool. It's got all the templates, and then they can send that through to me, and we can make the final few tweaks. But I think it's good to also catch up face to face. And understand what they sort of want, and even do some stuff on the spot with them. And some of the big brands like Nike and Adidas and all that, they're great because you think, this an amazing name. But when you think about it locally, there's a face to Macron, which is you, and you able to work with you. So does that appeal to a lot of clubs? Because you've been involved in most of the clubs here in South Australia. Yep, absolutely. So, some clubs recently have partnered with us that have come from a couple of those brands, and were not disappointed with what they were getting from your Nikes or Adidas, but mainly wanting to have a point of contact and a place where they can sort of come in if there's extra bits and pieces to order or to embellish and all that sort of stuff. We do everything here locally. So I think that's pretty key to the relationship as well, and for their comfort to know that we're not calling someone interstate or overseas or anything like that. They're able to deal with me and Macron direct. It's pretty cool that they're able to do that, because I didn't realise what it was like with here until I walked in here and saw everything you do, because some of the kits you do produce look amazing, and there's a lot of other good brands out there, but
to see what you guys do and what you actually do for the community, because you actually got the clubs in mind, not just producing for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to come on board with the club and partner as a sponsor as well. So we look at what their spend is, make sure we're making a healthy margin so that we can sponsor them. With might be their senior squads, might be a development team or whatever it is, and then also building the online store for their members, take the stress away from their volunteers, and then hopefully the members can jump online and buy the merchandise.
Mate, thank you for inviting me down here to come and do the podcast live from your store, because I've really enjoyed being in this environment and being around as a kit nerd, just being next to some of the kits. Right next to me, I've actually got the Adelaide University one, Port Adelaide one as well. So I'm all around it. And when Adelaide United had it as well, you worked with them very well to help with their kits. So what was that like to be involved with Adelaide United as well?
Yeah, so capacity with the pro club, so they are sponsored directly by the brand Macron. So they'll deal typically with them, but we're sort of in the middle. So we'll do some on the ground stuff, some last minute embellishments, some requests that need to be done. They deserve the same service that the local clubs are getting. Absolutely.
Well, I still got the kit at home, I think, of the Macron one when you guys did it. It's bit tight, but it's nice tight fit, like the Italian style, which is cool.
Yeah. So we're definitely more of a fitted brand.
Yeah.
Much to some of the supporters discussed, but once you get used to our sizing, I think you'll be comfortable.
I think it's a motivator as well, because it makes you go and get fit because you need to fit into it.
That's right.
But mate, I really appreciated you inviting me out here. But before I let you go, I always do kicking it questions to end off every episode, and I'm not going to let you go without doing these two. The first one is, who would you kick it with on the park? Anyone in the world?
It would have to be Alessandro Del Piero.
Oh, that's an easy one. Can't go past him, can you?
Absolutely not. No. Well, so that was my idol growing up.
Yeah. Yep. What would you do with him? Just a couple of drills with him, or what would you do? One-on-one?
Oh, look, I'd almost want to just give him the ball and just say, I just want to watch you. You know?
Yeah.
Look, I think definitely free kicks, set pieces would have to go through them. A bit of dribbling, bit of finishing. Yeah.
And then the second one is, who would you like to kick it with on a Saturday night and watch some footy and have some beers as well? Kicking it on a Saturday.
I don't mind my own sort of quiet time, but I've always enjoyed growing up. I've got a younger brother that we've always watched the sort of sport together and put a couple cheeky bets on, and so definitely he'd be my first choice.
Nice. So he'll be your local one. Who would you choose from over the world, anywhere in the world, to come and join you as well? You and your brother.
Choose Del Piero again?
Why not? So Del Piero?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. So Del Piero and your brother. Right now, they're having a Saturday night.
Perfect.
Watching. What games would you?
I don't know if me and my brother would be watching the TV though.
No, you'd be talking to him the whole time. Would you put some Juventus on?
Yeah, we'd have to. Look, if it's not him, then it's probably Diamanti, Alessandro Diamanti. Oh, yeah. He's been a super figure in the A-League. And,
he'll be entertaining as well.
Absolutely hilarious on social media. I think he's great, so he'd be good value.
I think you would enjoy hanging out with him. He's just one of those lovable characters from he's got that Italian kind of jokester kind of feel to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And super player. I've been didn't play much this year through injury, but we went and watched him live a couple of times at Cooper's, and he's been amazing. There you go. There's some good choices there. Maybe your brother and Alessandro Del Piero and Diamanti as well. There you go. Great mixture of people all there together. Mate, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure coming out to the Macron Sports Hub in Adelaide, where you're the director of. It's incredible to see what you do for the clubs as well. You got the logos everywhere to promote the local clubs, which is a fantastic touch as well to the this warehouse. And thank you so much, mate. And good luck with Adelaide University. Hope you can keep the State League 1 run going. Thank you. Thanks for having me. That was the football manager of Adelaide University's men's side in the State League 1 and the director of Macron Sports Hub Adelaide, Raffaele Frisina. Make sure you subscribe to Kicking It Local wherever you get your podcasts so you can get a taste of the SA football community. Plus, follow Kicking It Local SA on Instagram and Twitter so you don't miss any of the action. See you soon!